Hello everyone, welcome to the reimagining of Descent into Development. Those who have been here for a while may remember the Descent into Development streams I had been doing where I was designing a game and kind of just hanging out with the community while we did so, and we did a lot of things like developing maps, doing some coding, but I ended up realizing that I wasn't working towards the goal of that series that I had initially set out to. So we're going to be starting a new series of it, and in this first episode, we're going to be discussing something that I very briefly touched on in my last series, but like maybe in just a comment or two. Today, we're going to be discussing the game design document. So, first off, what is a game design document? Well, to put it simply, it's a document used to plan out your game in a way that makes sense. Some design documents are going to be short, where some are going to be longer, kind of depending on how complicated your game is and what you're looking to do. You don't need every single bit of your game in the document, but you want to have at least information present on everything relevant to the game. I'll be showing a game design document during this that I'm actually in the process of filling out, and this will be a game that hopefully will be done by the end of the series and in a state that I can release something to the community. Now, I always suggest organizing your game design document. You want to be able to make sure that you can find what you're looking for, but also something to keep in mind is that if you are sharing this with anyone else, be it people who are going to be helping you out with the project, if you're trying to get investors or anything, you want to make sure everything is organized and clear so that things can be done properly and people can find what they're looking for. Now, if it's just you doing it for yourself, you can get away with some silly names, as you'll see I have at least one on mine. But with that in mind, let's start off by showing off this document. Now, you can see that this is the game design document for Project TBN, or To Be Named. I'm not sure what to call it. Something will come to me as I'm working. You can see at the top I just kind of have it labeled that way, and I don't know, it's just a great way to start, and as I'm writing the story, I'll probably come up with something. Now, since the project is very much in its early stages, the description I have is just the genre, which is adventure-based JRPG, with a job system, something I plan on making very important to it, designed using RPG Maker MZ, which is the engine I'm using. On the side over here, you can see I have all these like headers. This is just how I've broken the document down for the sake of organization. Now, I'm not going to be going through the entire document, just the first few sections to give you an idea of how I like to lay everything out. Understand that this document isn't fully filled out. There's not a lot of information fleshed into it, just enough to kind of show you everything on my end. Now, the first section I have is called Plugins Needed. And this, as far as I'm aware, is specific to RPG Maker. These are plugins that allow RPG Maker's engine to be modified that I have exchanged some money for. These are, if anyone's familiar with RPG Maker, they've probably heard Vigustella be thrown around in the forums and such quite a few times, and you'll notice that a lot of the plugins I use are going to be theirs. I'll be honest, I just really like the way they work, and they keep very good documentation, so I'm very happy to use them. One of the reasons I do plugins first is, as I had mentioned, they cost money. You pay people if you're getting plugins, as you should if you're getting art, if you're getting, voice acting done, all of that. If I were going to add all that in, it would be in this first section. If not before plugins needed, I'd put afterwards things to invest in. For right now, I'm not sure what scope I'm looking at that, so I don't have anything for it. But, for example, over here for character creation, that is a Vigustella plugin that costs $15. It does come in a bundle with two other plugins that I'm debating how much I'm going to want or use. So, rather than just throw the $15 down now and then realize I want the other two. I'm just going to save the $15 and determine my costs from there. It's definitely good to plan out bundles. If you think you can use plugins for different things in the future, you might as well. Now, that being said, you'll notice that I have the character creation. I also have a character generator expansion. This one is a Steam-based expansion, and actually what this does is it just makes it so that you can actually do layered armor, which I'm really excited for, and something I want to use for this. So I have to also keep in mind that I'm going to have to grab that as well when factoring in finances. Now, after this point, I'm going to be leaning very heavily into RPG-based mechanics and the specifics around RPGs. In a non-RPG design document, you'd want to start going over some of the mechanic basics here, such as like in Power Wash Simulator, you'd want to be going over the various nozzle types, how various surface types change, which materials clean best with what kind of nozzles you should use, or, you know, in Need for Speed, going over the different, the various race types, what cars are better for which, how you need the different tires. But since we're making an RPG, we're gonna be focusing on RPG elements here. And the first one to talk about is the classes, or the job system, which is what I specifically put in my description, so you know it's going to be something I put a lot of work into. You'll notice that I have a very bare bones explanation here of every job. I don't really have even a detailed description of them yet, but I have the name of the class, I have what their what their most important attribute is, if any. You'll notice Freelancer doesn't have one. If they have proficiencies, like the Warrior and Guardian and Crusader have special proficiencies, if they have skill types, none of them have too much special information. You'll notice, like, for skill type Brewing, I have just a general idea of what that does, the 3 types of magic, and then we have Gambler, who is its own special situation. So Gambler does have a lot more information. Long story short, they don't necessarily have a skill type, they just have a skill that turns into a bit of a roulette. Something that honestly I'll be excited to share if I can actually get it to work properly. Now, I could easily end up kind of overcomplicating this section if I were to fill in, the exact attributes per level, or even just putting in pictures of their attribute curves. But quite frankly, with the plan being to simplify it, I don't want to put too much in there. You never want to have to read a novel to find a line of information. As a general rule of thumb, if you aren't sure if you should include it, put it in, figure out how relevant it might be, and how likely you are to need that explanation. And if you look at it and you go, I can simplify this, delete whatever words you don't need until you either have something concrete you can't remove, or you've deleted the entire line. You can always update your design document while you're working on the project. It's just great to have a baseline before you even begin coding. Don't be afraid to be a bit ambitious, but definitely understand the limits of your program. This helps you understand what you can get away with versus what you can't. Don't go into RPG Maker MZ expecting to code full-scale 3D Elden Ring, but you could easily code games like Fire Emblem, Legend of Zelda, or even the Mega Man Battle Network. So you have a lot of opening to what you're able to do, you just need to sit down and do it. Now, fun fact before we move on, I was actually going to do a video talking about job systems, and as I was doing so, I reached a part where it was how I would implement a job system into a game. And as I was working up my script, I just started working on a design document, and I when I realized I still hadn't done a video, I'm doing this, this recording is 7:45 on Monday, I just kind of decided that instead of just discussing RPG elements, I can bring back a series that a lot of people kind of enjoyed, but I had to stop working on for personal reasons. So here we are doing a reimagining of Descent into Development, and instead of a video talking in depth about job systems, you're getting a video about how to make a game design document. I'm sorry, I think. I don't know. Are you upset? Let me know down below. For now, though, we're going to move on to the next, which is skill lists. And you'll notice that this is extremely empty. I'm fairly early into designing all of this, but this is a moment of figuring out just how far you want to go. I plan on making it so players have to purchase their skills in-game with job points that they get from fighting and leveling, and a few skills just list start, because that's the skills that the characters are going to automatically have. Now, it's good to have a variety of skills so characters can feel unique and distinct, but you also want to make sure that you don't add too many. But you also want to make sure that they're worth spending points on. So you also need to make sure that you have a balance to it. So what I did, and I won't go full well into the math, but I figured out that I'm going to make it so that when a character levels up, they're going to get 10 job points, and I am going to make it where fights are going to be rated in coding on a scale of 1 to 5, and that the party's going to get job points based on how difficult a fight was. Well, specifically monsters are going to be rated 1 to 5. So I'm going to make all skills have like a base cost of 5, but then based off of a number of things, these are going to change based off of, you know, do they inflict statuses? Do they do more damage? Do they do less damage? There's so many things that, quite frankly, I did a full, I don't even know how to explain it, but like set of equations in my math section to go over all of it. But I think it would get a little complicated to hop down there because it's a lot of numbers and variables. Now, with that said, everything at this point is RPG specific. We have a passive list because there's going to be passive abilities, character elements. These are things like background and star sign, deity, states. These are obviously, you know, confusion, poison, rage, math. This is where I do all of the balancing, the numbers. You know, does 2 plus 2 really equal 4? Could it equal fish? Items is just a general idea of items that I might need for things. You know, I have the apothecarian who has a skill for crafting healing potions. Like, that's all stuff that I need to figure out, and I need to make sure there's synergy for. And you can see, like, I've got a section for items, I've got story, I've got world. It's all got to get filled out still. There's a lot that I'll be doing, and a lot of it I'll wind up doing off screen. But the most important thing is just get your thoughts down on paper in ways you can work with them. If you aren't sure how to organize your thoughts, use examples for yourself. Let's say you wanted to have a gathering mechanic the way Etrian Odyssey does. If the doc is just for you, you're not sharing it with anybody, you're not trying to get investors, just put down Etrian Odyssey gathering mechanic. But if you need to be sharing the document with people, or you want more information, you can just, you know, you put that, you know, well, it's node-based gathering with limited daily use. And then you go, oh, well, let me replace the Etrian Odyssey thing and put that, because that sounds a lot smarter. And then, you know, you can go further with that. We break down the gathering skills based on classes, and not every gathering spot is the same. And, you know, you don't have to go so in depth of like, there will be a gathering spot for wood on map 14, you know, on coordinates 30 by 12. Like, you don't have to go that far, but having the idea of node-based gathering, nodes and dungeons, etc., that stuff will really help you out. Just don't go too crazy. You can also, if you want to make the document look a little prettier, don't be afraid to put in like art that helps you illustrate your point, or if I wanted to put in the attribute curves for all of the classes, I could literally take screenshots of those. Oh, excuse me. But it's one of those things. If you genuinely want inspiration, I suggest looking up game design documents. Try and see if you can find them for games that you've played. This way you can see like, oh, that's where that's listed. Oh, okay, I can see what they intended with. Oh, I get that now. Unfortunately, not every game is going to have a publicly available game design document, but some do, and that could be all it takes to inspire you. Maybe you'll see a game design document and decide, I want to play that game. And then, hey, you end up with a favorite game. Definitely when designing games, I also consider having 2 examples for any mechanic you want to put in. Have a that's close to what I'm aiming for, and a that is not what I want to do at all. So let's see, if I were to drag some games through the mud for job systems, since that was the original topic anyway, I want a game with a job system like Final Fantasy Tactics, but I don't want a game with a job system like Etrian Odyssey. I want a free-flowing job system where I can bolster my classes with other classes' skills, as opposed to I pick my class at the start of the game, and if I want a new one, I have to start over. Or, no, that's just it. You have to start over, and that's Etrian Odyssey. So just have ideas of that kind of thing so you can get an idea of where you want to go, and maybe you'll be able to word what you're looking for better. If you have things that, oh, I want this job system. What do you like about this job system? Don't just, oh, well, I like the Final Fantasy Tactic ones. I like the versatility of being able to equip my skills onto other classes and take reactions from these other jobs and present them to a job that normally wouldn't have those. I love being able to cast thunder as a warrior. Things like that. Break it down as much as you can, if only to help yourself later. But that's all I have for today. I'll be trying to cook up a few more of these videos in the future, things like implementing ideas you have, what to do if you can't get an idea to work. I've got lots of ideas if people are interested. Let me know down in the comments how in-depth you want the Descent into Development reimagining to be, or any topics you'd specifically love to see me cover. I still am gonna be working on Heroes of SE in the back, though I've got a lot of things I have to determine with it, with basically how much work I have to put in to fix certain things I don't like. I'm not sure what specific options I'll take with it, but once I figure it out, I'll be sure to let the community know, and hey, maybe we'll get a few streams of me working on it again. Are you looking to get into game design? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new here. I'm live all but Monday and Wednesday on Twitch and YouTube, and honestly, I hope to see you there. Either way, though, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.